Hi guys, welcome to our brand video on this channel. In today's video we're talking about T-Mobile and Verizon. Now a lot of people are asking the question whether they should switch from Verizon to T-Mobile. And the reason why they're asking that is because a lot of people have been talking about T-Mobile with their T-Mobile One and One Plus plans. And then you look at Verizon, they just announced their unlimited data plan. And by the way, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T already had unlimited data plans, but now they're bringing them back because they saw what T-Mobile was doing. So again, we acknowledge the fact that T-Mobile is influencing the market. But then you look at Verizon and T-Mobile, and people compare networks. The situation with T-Mobile, if you don't know, they're owned by a German company called Deutsche Telekom, and they're investing in their mobile data infrastructure in the US. So if you look at T-Mobile itself, you have to be honest about it and say, you know what? They are working on their network. The way they advertise the prices for their plans, they're just advertising exactly what you're paying. And if you see what Verizon's doing, you might spend some extra money. But in my opinion, I think that Verizon has a better network than T-Mobile. But again, you compare exactly what you're paying and also networks. And it really depends on what part of the country you're located, because that's where you're going to figure out what kind of coverage you're going to get between your phone and the network. See, this is the thing about T-Mobile. They don't have the most amount of money. They don't have the most amount of customers. So when they're changing things based on what they see out in the market, it's because obviously they want to gain more customers, just like any company does. But we're also talking about a company that does not have the company worth like a Verizon. So that is something that they're competing with. Yes, with Verizon, you do have a lot of customers. You have an impressive network, but T-Mobile is competing. So for a consumer out there to compare the networks, I would say it has to be about what kind of mobile data coverage you have in your area of the country, and then you can figure out if that's a company you should use. Because if you go and see a commercial out there, whether it's from Verizon or T-Mobile, or you see reviews out there, what would it matter to you guys if you're in some part of the country where the data coverage is not good? So you have to really figure out which company is going to provide the best mobile data coverage, and then also the price of the mobile data plan that you're going to use. Now again, the reason why a lot of people have been saying stuff about Verizon, including myself, about the reasons why they would charge more in T-Mobile is because they have all those customers. And those customers are loyal to Verizon. Because when Verizon increases the price of their plans, or even that situation where they are charging additional for the same unlimited data plan, because it seems like they want people to switch plans, whatever. This was before their most recent unlimited data plan. Verizon sometimes does stuff because they know that they're Verizon. And that's much different than T-Mobile. Although I didn't agree with what T-Mobile was doing with the HD video, I also understand that when T-Mobile is doing things like that, they're trying to compete with a Verizon. And it's probably a real challenge for T-Mobile to do that while they're trying to continuously improve their own network, which they're doing. Because if you research what companies are working on 5G, T-Mobile is working on 5G. So this is a situation. You got T-Mobile and Verizon. And by the way, I just read a comment recently. Someone was like, why do people even compare two companies? Well, obviously, people are comparing two companies because they have unlimited data plans now, quote unquote. And a lot of people are interested to see which company has the best network, right? Because that's what it's all about. I would say if you're a Verizon customer thinking about switching to T-Mobile, I would say first think about the network, because obviously it's all about your data connection and also how much you're paying. Now, if you have more than one line, comparing the prices between T-Mobile and Verizon, you are going to save money with T-Mobile. Even for one line, you could save some money with T-Mobile. Although it's not that much money, you could still save some money. Now, I'm not saying that you have to ignore AT&T and Sprint. And the reason I'm even saying that, because some people out there might say, you know what about Sprint? They're not impressive. And the reason why they're not impressive is because a lot of the customers were going to T-Mobile. And really, it is about Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. And when you talk about these companies, you have to think about who's innovating, who has all the customers, or which company a lot of customers are going to. And right now, you have a lot of customers going to T-Mobile and Verizon. But if you're interested in saving some money, T-Mobile could be the company for you. But again, that would have to do with the mobile data connection you would have with that company. Because again, if you go and use T-Mobile and your connection to their network is awful, then that's a joke. Because if you switch from Verizon to T-Mobile and it's not good, what's the point? So I would say research, ask people who are using their company what it's all about, especially if they're using a different company than you. And then also figure out how much you're spending. Because who wants to spend more money for the same kind of service just because it's a different company? So if you're spending more money with Verizon, but you can basically get the same kind of service with T-Mobile, I would say look at T-Mobile. But again, that's all about the data connection that you're getting. And I also want to say this about it, because a lot of people out there might say, wait a minute, T-Mobile has T-Mobile Tuesdays, Verizon doesn't have that. You know, this is not about T-Mobile Tuesdays. No offense, T-Mobile fans, but this is not about T-Mobile Tuesdays, whether you get some fake pizza and ice cream. It's not about that. We're talking about a great mobile data connection compared to the other companies out there. And from what I know, I'm saying T-Mobile is competitive with Verizon, but not to the point where I would say they have a better network. But with consumers, if they can save some money, they could easily look at T-Mobile rather than Verizon for that reason. So again, this is about technology with the network, and then we're also talking about which company is better with the way they charge for their plans. And I have to say, a real advantage with T-Mobile right now is the fact that they advertise exactly what you're paying on their website. So if you go to T-Mobile's website, I'll put a link in the description, and you see the prices for the plans, that's what you're paying for. That's it. It's that simple. And not only that, this whole thing with the HD video, which if you don't know, before all of this, T-Mobile was charging for HD video. They're not doing that anymore. You activate the HD video once, although I don't think you should even have to activate HD video with any of these mobile carriers. With T-Mobile, you have to activate the HD video once, but then you get HD video. So I would say this situation with T-Mobile and Verizon is competitive. It's good for consumers. And if you're interested in switching from Verizon and T-Mobile, I would say one of the advantages is you could save some money. T-Mobile's network is competitive. They're working on their mobile data infrastructure, even 5G. And also, I would say they make a lot of changes. Sometimes the changes are stupid and they're not good for the industry. And other times like this, they're actually good for consumers. So T-Mobile is a company that you should look at if you're trying to figure out where you should get a mobile data plan. And that's real talk about T-Mobile. Some people think it's about hating one company or other. It's not all about that. We're talking about getting a fair mobile data plan from a mobile carrier and getting an honest answer from these companies when you have questions about what they're doing. Now, I would also say this. I realize a lot of you out there are trying to research about these carriers. If you call their customer service, a lot of times you're going to get different answers because it depends on which customer service person is talking to you. So the question, should you switch from Verizon to T-Mobile? Go ahead and switch. No, just kidding. The situation here is that, again, it's about what kind of mobile data connection that you're getting. In my opinion, that's what it's about. Because why would you want to use some company that's crappy? So we're talking about getting a great mobile data connection with the company that you're using and also a fair price. And I think that the pricing from T-Mobile is fair. And I also think the situation with Verizon, they need to change the way they advertise their prices. And they also need to acknowledge the fact that with the way that T-Mobile is selling their mobile data plans, it just proves that you don't have to charge like a line access fee and all that kind of other stuff. You just need to advertise exactly what people are paying. And if you guys can do that, you know what? If Verizon makes changes because T-Mobile is doing something and it's great for the industry and consumers, why not? That's my opinion. If you want to be stubborn about it and say, you know what, they should not change because they're Verizon, they could do whatever they want. That's not my opinion, because you have a company like T-Mobile that's trying to compete, and yes, they're making changes. Again, not always great changes. Sometimes it's really stupid changes that cost consumers money, but whatever. We're talking about the problems that we have in this mobile data industry, which include companies misinforming consumers. So when a company is making changes and being more honest with consumers, we have to acknowledge that, say, you know what, Verizon, you guys can do the same thing. And not only that, you can start talking about more about your mobile data infrastructure and what you're doing to improve your network. So I think Verizon is competitive, and I also think they have an impressive network, because a lot of people also say that, especially Verizon customers and other people that switch to Verizon. So it's not just about people going from Verizon to T-Mobile, but we're also talking about saving some money. And that's real talk, because some people out there, when they're comparing plans, and even if it's like $20, they might switch companies because of $20 charge. I'm just saying, that's called competitive shopping. That's what people want to do. They want to compare the companies. They want to know who's the best, where you can get the best offer. And right now, T-Mobile has some really competitive pricing. We're talking about what you're paying per month exactly, and you can save some real money compared to Verizon. And it's no offense to Verizon. Most customers that use Verizon realize this. If you're using Verizon, you know you're paying some extra money compared to the other mobile carriers. But you're also paying extra money because of that consistency with their company. Because if you're a Verizon customer, you know that your mobile data connection from what you're using, because you're continuously using them, you must really like their service, because their service is what's giving you your mobile data connection, obviously, from their network. So that's real talk about them. I would like to know what you guys think about all of this. If you're a Verizon customer, would you switch to T-Mobile? Are you thinking about switching to T-Mobile? Post your comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, give a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next video. Peace out.